Hi, I'm Amisile Pamela Ngubane, and this is the Entity Dynamics podcast. Entity Dynamics is a culture development consultancy where we believe that culture creates behavior and behavior creates reality. So if you want to change the reality of yourself or your society, you have to change your culture. And essentially, culture is a worldview that informs how you behave towards the world, the people around you, and to yourself. And that behavior will create the reality that you live in. So last time I spoke about this new program that I've developed. So I developed this program as a program I am offering to companies and organizations, companies to fulfill their corporate social investment goals, and then also for philanthropic organizations who seek to intervene in communities and in societies, but maybe don't have like a clear-cut program, or they have a program, but I offer mine, and they can tailor it to their needs. And I believe my program is good and valuable because it's there to create a culture of economic consciousness. Because if we think about it, a lack of economic consciousness is really where we as individuals contribute to our own poverty and lack of development, lack of sustainable development in our own lives and in the lives of our society. So I said I'm going to talk about career development as the first step in the program, so to speak, or the first program in the list of programs that I offer. So the whole career development idea morphed into creating a culture of career orientation amongst individuals, their families, their parents, in people as they're growing up as children, in community, structures like churches and schools, etc. So I came to the conclusion that, and obviously I'm not the only person who came to this conclusion, but I came to it as well as a person, that, if people are not happy in their careers, their lives are going to be pretty disrupted and not very functional, overall. Because if you look at your career, you spend 8 hours a day doing it, and if there's 24 hours in a day, that's a third of your life spent doing something, which if you're not happy doing, it's going to impact deeply, on your life. People talk about how we normally get 6 to 8 hours of sleep a day. Imagine if you couldn't sleep properly for 8 hours. Imagine if you couldn't sleep properly every day, your life would be a mess. You wouldn't be able to function. Similarly with your career, if you can't have one that's gonna, make you feel fulfilled in yourself as a person, you're going to be under a lot of stress and pressure internally, which will then manifest as external strife with your interpersonal relations and just how you also view yourself as a human being. How much value can you actually feel that you have as a person if you're torturing yourself for 8 hours a day in a career that does not fulfill you personally? Obviously, humanity has gone through serious stages of oppression and repression and, all sorts of coercive social systems and structures that have forced people to adopt ways of surviving, which were just for survival, So, I know my parents' generation, a lot of people had no choices. They just had to do whatever they could to survive, And so it's understandable that then the idea of being career oriented seemed like a luxury and pie in the sky, and just, what are you talking about? We have to survive here. If someone can become an engineer and make money for himself or herself and their family, that's all it was about, survival, But I think, we're in 2025 now, and that survival mode, that coercive culture in many respects, it has dissipated. In many respects, people are much more able to choose for themselves, you know, what they want for their lives. And so I think, you know, let's seize the moment, because if we carry on with these outmoded ideas about our lives, like we just need a job that's going to make us money. Okay, yes, it's true. There are a lot of people who need jobs that will just make them money. But at the same time, there are a lot of jobs out there that can make a person money, which are way more aligned with who that person is. Everyone needs money to survive. I'm not saying that we don't need money to survive. You know, we're not living in heaven yet, heaven on earth yet, you know, but it's possible to have a career that makes you money, gives you a livelihood that can sustain your life, which also fulfills you personally. They are not mutually exclusive. Maybe they were much more mutually exclusive in the past, but maybe even then, not so much if people did the proper research to find a career more in line with who they are. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, a lot of people have been able to do that in the past, but I don't think it's something which is a natural part of our culture yet. And I believe that if it can become a natural part of our culture, then there'd be much more self-fulfillment, self-peace, and then external peace. So the whole premise of choosing a career that suits you is the premise that you must love yourself as a person, you know. And, you know, because of the institutions that we have that govern the majority of humanity's religious life, people have been taught that self-love is akin to selfishness. It's not, obviously. And also that self-love is akin to self-indulgence, which is not. Real self-love actually means doing things whose consequences are for your highest good. Okay, that's real self-love. So if you're going to make sure you get enough rest every day, the consequences are going to be for your own good. You know, if you're going to make sure you avoid eating really, you know, unnutritious junk food all the time, if you're gonna avoid that, it's gonna be for your highest good. The consequences, likewise, the opposite. If you're gonna do things that are not good for your body, the consequences are not gonna be good for you. That's not self-love. That's might be self-indulgence, but it's definitely not self-love, because it's gonna hurt you. It's harming yourself. So career development, career orientation, choosing a career that fulfills you is an expression of self-love. You're doing something which the consequences are going to be for your highest good. You're going to have a career that you love. It's going to make you feel fulfilled. You're going to feel like this is what you're doing, what you came to this planet to do. You're going to feel fulfilled. You're going to be able to interact with people who are on the same vibe as you. You're going to feel like you belong to a group of people who actually value you, because they are also like you, trying to fulfill their purpose on this planet. And, you know, you'll probably meet your spouse in that environment. So you're with someone who you're vibing with, you know, you can share ideas with, you know, you can maybe teach the skills to your kids if they're interested, if you decide to have kids or whatever, you know. But at the end of the day, ultimately, you will feel that what I'm doing really makes me feel inside that I am loving myself. I am nurturing myself. I'm doing what makes me happy on a deep, deep level. And because you are so generous and loving and kind to yourself, you are much more easily able to be generous and loving and kind to others, and also and kind to others. And also, when other people see you doing what you really love and being fulfilled in it and making a living in it, you will inspire them to do the same thing. So it just becomes like an incredible ripple effect in the space-time continuum as well. You know what I'm saying? Because we are conscious beings and we feel each other's vibes. And if someone is emitting a positive vibe of self-love and self-nurturing and self-fulfillment, it inspires other people to do the same thing. So I'm going to carry on with this video in part 2, because it is quite a lot and I do want to keep them short for the sake of simple uploads. Thanks. See you just now.